Transfer rebuild, next manager hope, Man United given final Erik ten Hag sacking ultimatum. It's still unclear whether Erik ten Hag will be given another season at the helm of Manchester United, only time will as to what decision Jim Ratcliffe will make. The future of Erik ten Hag as Manchester United manager has been long up for debate. Despite guiding the Red Devils to a third-place Premier League finish and a Carabao Cup trophy last season, this season's slew of injuries and poor results leading to their 8th place finish in the league campaign have led to calls for the Dutchman to be sacked. However, yesterday's shock 2-1 FA Cup final win over Manchester City has somewhat stifled those plans in their tracks. Goals from Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo meant ten Hag may have been given a new lease of life at Old Trafford, and the 54-year-old looks to have grabbed it with both hands, and his refusing to let go. After the final, he stood defiant in the face of potentially being sacked straight after the clash, instead choosing to send a damning message to Sir Jim Ratcliffe and those at Ineos that are coming into the club to start a new era after a decade of mediocrity. He said, "There is still a lot of work to do, but we are exactly where we are. We have value in the squad, high potentials progressing very good, the team is progressing and we are winning trophies. 2 trophies in 2 years is not bad, 3 finals in 2 years is not bad. We have to keep going. I'm not satisfied with it, we have to do better, and if they don't want me anymore then I go somewhere else to win trophies because that is what I did my whole career." A number of names have been floated around, including former United coach and now Ipswich Town manager Kieran McKenna, as well as Thomas Tuchel and Mauricio Pochettino, who recently walked out at Chelsea after just 11 months in charge. So, with that being said, the Manchester Evening News has assessed the future of ten Hag at Old Trafford and what decision, if any, Jim Ratcliffe should make going forward. Do you think Erik ten Hag should be sacked, or do Manchester United need to be more patient? Have your say in our poll at the bottom of this article, George Smith. Regardless of the outcome of the FA Cup final, I was in favour of Erik ten Hag being given the opportunity to oversee a third season in charge, backed by a new-look, elite-level football structure. Having beaten City on Saturday, he is now more than worthy of that opportunity. United's first season under the Dutchman was a roaring success, achieving a top-4 finish and clinching their first trophy in 6 years. They also reached the FA Cup final, only to be narrowly edged out by Manchester City. Winning the FA Cup this time around is an upgrade on last season's Carabao Cup success. However, the elephant in the room is the club's 8th-placed Premier League finish, which was simply not good enough. But when you take into account the number of injuries United encountered throughout the season, a decline was always likely. Had ten Hag been able to call upon the likes of Lisandro Martinez and Luke Shaw throughout the season, for example, it is highly likely they would have finished much higher up the ladder. With a summer of change in the offing, United need to make changes to the squad, raising the overall level of talent and depth within the ranks. Saturday's post-match celebrations, however, gave a clear indication that the players still have a strong relationship with ten Hag. United should harvest that and build on it. Another managerial change does not guarantee success. Oliver Jones. This FA Cup final result really does complicate things, doesn't it? If it had been a 2-0, 3-0 loss, I think we would have seen the headlines early in the evening that ten Hag was on his way out of Old Trafford and the club are looking for his successor. But that doesn't really feel like the case. Ten Hag has really stuck the flag in the middle of the centre circle and told Jim Ratcliffe that he's here to stay. He said it himself, he'll go and win elsewhere if he's not wanted. And while this season has been an inconsistent mess with brilliant highs and woeful lows, last season did show that with a better, younger, fitter squad, the 54-year-old really could be who they need at the wheel. Yes, there are good names on the market, but to sack a manager that has won you 2 domestic trophies in 2 seasons in the place United are in wouldn't be a smart move. He could have some major backing over the summer with an influx of cash, some coming from a much-needed mass clear out of the deadwood that's causing that dressing room issues, and can bring in a myriad of impressive talents to really boost their chances of making top 4 next season in what'll be a highly competitive 2024-25 campaign. Jake Stokes. Irrespective of whether Manchester United won the FA Cup final or not, Erik ten Hag deserved the chance to oversee a third campaign. In his debut season, he led the Red Devils to 3rd place in the Premier League, which, upon reflection, was a great achievement. While the Dutchman struggled to implement an attractive brand of football, which supporters so desperately crave, he managed to get points on the board. Then, in the summer transfer window, he was backed, and quite considerably too, with his expenditure tallying almost £500 million. Now, obviously, that's quite a big issue because a few of the players that Manchester United signed haven't been great, such as Antony, Tyrell Malacia, Sofian Amrabat, and Mason Mount. While Ten Hag would have had some input on recruitment, the Red Devils should have never been in a position where they resorted to signing somebody like Johnny Evans either. For what Manchester United want to achieve and where they want to be, signing Evans just epitomised the Glazers' ownership. Aside from the club's questionable spending choices, they've also been riddled with injuries which must be taken into account too, regardless of whether you're Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out. With a sporting director, hopefully, on the way and an ambitious figurehead, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, leading the way, the Red Devils can use the summer to recharge their batteries and rebuild the squad ahead of the new season. Ten Hag deserves a proper chance to prove his worth and, if it doesn't work out next season, then the two simply part ways at the end of his contract. Tom Cavilla. The writing was on the wall for Erik Ten Hag even before Saturday's FA Cup final victory over Manchester City on Saturday afternoon. Ten Hag has made a habit of blaming injury issues for the Red Devils' struggles this season, but there has been little evidence of progress even when the Dutchman has had a full squad to pick from. The game that summed up why a change is required this summer was the 4-0 defeat at Crystal Palace earlier this month, during which United were schooled by a team enjoying life under new manager Oliver Glasner. Glasner has had an instant impact at Selhurst Park since taking charge of the Eagles, with his football philosophy clear for all to see. 2 years into Ten Hag's reign, meanwhile, and supporters are still questioning what exactly is United's style. A fresh start this summer could be exactly what's needed to get United back to the top, but appointing a manager who can deliver on implementing a successful brand of football will be key. Josh Holland. 2 trophies in 2 seasons is a strong record. Winning at Manchester United is in the club's DNA, and Ten Hag has delivered that in the cup competitions. Injuries have been United's biggest opponent this season, and the FA Cup final win showed exactly what he can do with a fitter squad. However, there still seems to be a feeling of uncertainty around his future. The want for a new man in the dugout does have its advantages, but Ratcliffe simply has to show some humbleness by the behaviour by the fans and players yesterday. The cup final win meant everything to Ten Hag, and you could tell the players were delighted for him. It's important that this weekend doesn't remove the Premier League finish from the memory book. It was poor. But I honestly think he deserves at least another season, even more so after his tactical masterclass at Wembley. Isaac Silakan. It's a tricky one because of the emotion of Saturday's win. There may be a chance that this victory turns things around for Ten Hag, and with injured players returning, things may improve next season. However, there is still no clear style of play with his team after 2 years in charge, and that is a major problem. Yes, the injury problems have been horrific, but if your team has an identity, it shouldn't matter who is injured. See Tottenham under Ange Postecoglou this season. Ultimately, the problems at Old Trafford haven't all been Ten Hag's fault, and he has been harshly treated by some. But with major changes planned by Ineos, now is probably time for a new manager as well. One result at Wembley should not reflect a disappointing season as a whole, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's statement issued after Manchester United FA Cup final win over Man City. Manchester United sealed a memorable FA Cup final win over Manchester City on Saturday afternoon. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has praised the Manchester United first team after their FA Cup final win over Manchester City on Saturday afternoon. United were 2-1 winners at Wembley thanks to goals from Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo, helping to secure Erik Ten Hag a second piece of silverware in as many seasons as manager of the club. Much of the talk before kickoff had centered around the future of the Dutchman, who is expected to leave the club despite getting the better of City, though he will be exiting on the back of a memorable victory if he is to depart in the coming days. Ratcliffe's dramatic overhaul at United since acquiring a 27.7% stake in the club is set to continue with Ten Hag leaving, though the Ineos chief refused to comment on the position of the United boss when asked personally if the 54-year-old would be staying. Ratcliffe, instead, had the following message after Saturday's success in the capital: "It is a glorious feeling to win the FA Cup final at Wembley. Manchester United were clearly not the favourites to win today, but they played with total commitment and skill and overcame one of the great teams in football. We are all very proud of the players and the staff who worked tirelessly to support them. Ten Hag remained defiant when asked for his own take on his future, responding, "If they don't want me anymore, I go somewhere else and win trophies. That's what I've done my whole career. The only thing I'm doing is preparing my team, developing my team. This is a project for me. When I came in, I can say it was a mess. Now we are better. We are not where we want to be. I think the owners will do that." Man United star on Erik ten Hag future and Sir Jim Ratcliffe plans. A decision is expected on Erik ten Hag's future in the coming days after the zenith of his Man United tenure against City in the FA Cup final. Johnny Evans hopes Erik ten Hag stays in charge of Manchester United and believes the Ineos group have a big job to do to refresh the squad if they are to build on their FA Cup triumph. Underdogs United defeated Manchester City 2-1 at Wembley to lift the cup for the 13th time in what was one of the club's sweetest days at Wembley. United had odds of 9-1 to win before kickoff, yet they produced arguably their finest performance under embattled Ten Hag in their 52nd and final match of a fraught campaign. Ten Hag's future is expected to be addressed in the coming days amid the expectation he will be sacked, with United interested in Ipswich Town manager Kieran McKenna. United have refused to comment on Ten Hag's position, and co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe ignored a question about whether the Dutchman would be sacked when he headed towards the United dressing room at Wembley. "He's handled it great," Evans said when asked about Ten Hag. "He's handled the press well at times and he's been amazing for me to be able to come back in. I know there have been a big of cases of injuries and that, but he's always shown faith in me, never any problems with that, so I can only thank him for it. I have a good relationship with him and hope he stays. I think hopefully a bit more consistency in the playing squad is needed for United to improve. I've been around football for a long time and know when you've got lots of changes it's very difficult. Hopefully on the back of today, a bit of belief, winning the FA Cup. The new owners have got a big job to do in terms of refreshing the squad, everyone's aware of that. I think they'll probably do that. It's been difficult," Evans admitted. "I said last week I think the manager's handled it incredibly well, he's got on with it. Every time there's been a setback, and there seem to have been so many setbacks, each training session, each match, we've had changes to the squad, sometimes the day before the game. And he's just taken it on the chin and got on with it. I think you've seen today he was probably able to get his starting team, or close to it, on the pitch and they produced." Evans, 36, came on for Lisandro Martinez in the 73rd minute and celebrated his second FA Cup victory 3 years after Leicester's maiden win against Chelsea. The academy graduate has now won all 3 major English honours with United. Kobbie Mainoo claimed the match-winning goal, stroking the ball past Stefan Ortega to crown a stunning counter-attack. United have transitioned to a deeper defensive strategy in recent weeks, and Evans felt that was a shrewd shift against City. "We know how the manager is, he really analyses the game tactically," Evans stressed. "He's always thinking, he's thinking about the formations of teams, and I think it was the last maybe month or so we played more of a lower defensive counter-attacking style. I thought we looked comfortable in that today. I think City force you into that anyway. It was a chance for us to show we can do that. The club's been built on counter-attacking football, too. There's a history behind that, and I thought the lads were incredible when we did win the ball back. We defended great, and when we did win the ball back we showed great composure, taking that extra touch, playing that extra pass to get us up the pitch." Ten Hag leaves for a summer holiday on Sunday with his future up in the air, but Evans was unaware of any post-season address from the manager in the dressing room. "There were too many celebrations going on for that, music was blasting straight away," he laughed. "He might have said something, actually, but I had to go for a drugs test, so I might have missed that." Evans played 30 games this season and is out of contract next month, but due to discuss a possible renewal with the club in the coming weeks. "I'm pretty relaxed about it. I'll see what the club say over the next couple of weeks, but nothing at the moment in terms of discussions over a new contract, so we'll see how it goes." Alan Shearer was right about Manchester United, and Erik ten Hag knows it deep down. Erik ten Hag's potential last match as Manchester United boss ended in glory after beating Manchester City. Erik ten Hag's perfect end to the 2023-24 season came true on Saturday afternoon, though it has been a far from perfect season for Manchester United. An 8th place finish in the Premier League, with a goal difference of -1, told the story of what has been a wretched campaign for the club. Ten Hag has repeatedly pointed to the injury problems he has faced over the course of the season for the team's lack of progress, though this defense does not account for what has been too many below-par performances from his group of players. The Dutchman has too often been let down by those in red taking to the pitch, which was once again apparent earlier this month during a dismal 4-0 defeat at Crystal Palace, yet Ten Hag believes the media have been too critical of his players, a stance he doubled down on when speaking after United's FA Cup final win. Asked again if he felt the first-team squad have been unfairly criticised, the 54-year-old responded, "I think so. The team, me as well, it was not right." Alan Shearer then took a moment to rightfully interject and query this claim at face value, stating, "The only thing I would say to that is that you have had a team out there today who have shown a great attitude, who've shown great ability, who have won every single tackle. That hasn't always been the case this season though, has it? So you do understand why we do criticize sometimes. If you had that every single week, you would not have finished 8th. Today was unbelievable." Such an assessment of United was a measure and perfectly reasonable response from the all-time Premier League top scorer, who correctly pointed out the Red Devils have too often gone missing when it matters most in matches. This unfortunate trend may well have cost Ten Hag his job, who may well be thinking how things could have panned out differently had he been able to rely on consistent players each week as manager. Bruno Fernandes, Kobbie Mainoo and Diogo Dalot have been 3 examples of individuals who have risen to the challenge of what has been a testing campaign, but the same cannot be said for other members of the squad. It remains to be seen whether or not a new manager is able to convert United into a team capable of competing for English top-flight glory, with the last 2 years proving the hot and cold nature of the current crop at Old Trafford. Ten Hag has stayed true to his players when defending them from criticism, but he will know deep down that such comments have more often than not been justified.